So when we last met, we talked about a horrible romantic comedy anime where a wimpy loser meets the most unrealistically gorgeous girl manageable, and through a series of wacky shenanigans is constantly with this girl as the two go through goofy scenarios that will obviously end with them falling in love and living happily ever after. Therefore, the only thing to do this week is to talk about a romantic comedy anime where a wimpy loser meets the most unrealistically gorgeous girl and animal imaginable, and through a series of wacky shenanigans is constantly with this girl as the two go through goofy scenarios that will obviously end with them falling in love and living happily ever after. Hey, wait a minute! So yeah, in case you couldn't tell by the opening bit, today we are talking about My Dress-Up Darling, arguably the most popular romantic comedy anime out right now, a series that people far and wide universally love, and I am here to tell you it and Rent-A-Girlfriend, one of the most hated anime out right now, are not actually that different. In fact, I'd argue they're kind of going after the same demographic, and they are kind of doing a lot of the same tricks for it. However, the difference is, in my opinion, one is executed borderline flawlessly in terms of the romantic regard, and the other is Rent-A-Girlfriend. Because in my opinion, idea and concept is not actually that important. What truly matters, what truly defines a series is awesome titties. No, I mean execution. Yes, execution of said titties. No, I genuinely believe that it doesn't matter how dumb or cliche an idea is. If you take the time and execute it properly, you can make something great out of anything. And I think My Dress-Up Darling perfectly signifies this. So that's why we're going to talk about it. I want to talk about how it does have a lot of the same elements of other cliched rom-coms, but is not afraid to go to new lengths with them and try out different ideas, and that's why it's special. So let's begin. First up, My Dress-Up Darling obviously revolves around Gojo, a young man who is, like I said in the opening, very shy, he's very quiet, doesn't really have any friends. Sounds like a million other romantic comedy protagonists. However, the difference is Gojo doesn't have a sad, traumatic backstory. Okay, he kind of does. But the main reason Gojo is the way he is because he is into making what are they called? Hime dolls. Him and his grandfather run a shop where they build them. He's been fascinated by them since he was a little kid. And this is just a hobby that most kids don't have or really particularly care about, so he got picked on. And because of this, now that he's in high school, he's just not very good at socializing because he's always afraid what's going to happen when his hobby comes out. Now, do you see what I did there? Effectively, what I just said is, we have what we usually get in shows like this, but the way we get to that conclusion is detailed and it's layered and it has aspects to it that make Gojo interesting. He isn't just another wimpy rom-com protagonist. He's this vastly interesting person who is unique and fundamentally his own character. And that's what I think makes him very likable and why so many people gravitate towards him. You really can get into this guy as you just watch him like execute his passions, as you see him learn new things, figure out new ways to like make costumes or build props. And you see as he gets really into it and really passionate about it, and you really want to root for this guy. You really want him to succeed. And of course, you really want him to end up with our unbelievably gorgeous manic pixie dream girl, Marin. Marin, just like Chizuru, just like so many other women in romantic comedy anime, is clearly designed to be the most unrealistically, insanely gorgeous girl you've ever seen. God knows the internet fell in love with this character design immediately. And for good reason. But it kind of goes a little bit beyond that. Yes, she is the concept of someone who is very, like, super into a thing, and she's gonna bring the main character to sort of turn his world upside down, and is super into all this nerd shit that obviously will appeal to the main audience watching this show. Most of the people who watch this show probably don't care about Hime dolls, but you probably are into anime as a whole, you're into gaming, you're into like figures and anime merch, you probably have a passing interest in cosplay, making Marin the perfect girl for you. But what makes Marin interesting is that she is not, at first, the perfect girl for Gojo. Gojo has no interest in anime or games or any of this stuff when the two first meet. If anything, like, he's the normal one compared to her. I love when we first meet Marin in season 1, and she is immediately presented as, like, insanely obsessive and just crazy, impulsive. There's a genuine sense Marin is the type of leaps before she looks type girl who would just immediately get passionate about something and it would just become her life. And by making it that our main character is so different and can look at her at times and think, this girl's fucking weird. Little things like that make the two have a unique dynamic. This isn't the typical nerdy guy meets nerdy girl, but nerdy girl isn't as like up to date as everything as the nerdy guy, so that way the audience doesn't feel like they're being trampled upon or demasculated. This show has no problem making the goal of Marin and her cosplay the centric focus of everything, while Gojo is just kind of like learning and growing by just going on this journey with her. He's always the point of view character, but it always feels like her goals and her interests is what drives the story forward. And I think that back and forth, that dynamic between the two, makes the series feel special and unique. We should also touch on the other unique and special aspect of that show, and that is this show really likes it when Marin is naked or showing revealing clothing. In fact, I would argue that's a problem sometimes. They'll get you so interested in a non-fan service aspect of a scene, when it happens, you're like, oh yeah, this is here. And unlike Rent-A-Girlfriend, remember, this girl's 15, so you can't even say it's legal. But what I think is smart here is that in Rent-A-Girlfriend, fucking boyfriend of the year Kazuya does nothing but ogles and brings up over and over again how insanely gorgeous all the women around him are. He's constantly staring at Chizuru's boobs and butt. He always remarks the outfits and how revealing they are or how it leaves stuff to the imagination. All this creepy shit always going on in his head, doing everything in their power to make him unlikable. Gojo is the complete opposite. It's very obvious that Gojo is physically attracted to Marin and is very aware of how pretty she is. But he never objectifies her. He never talks about her in context of, oh, I'm so lucky to have the most beautiful girl in the world around me. He always thinks of her as a person. He always talks to her like a friend. He's always very respectful of what she wants. And when there are moments of him wanting to be around her, it's because of how their interests have brought the two of them together and how comfortable he is around her and how much he makes her feel like something more, like there's something better. And I think that focus is what makes it special. The series knows you, the viewer, are going to be ready to lick your computer screen every time Marin's abdomen is on screen. Wait, is that just me? I might want to talk to somebody. But no, the point I'm trying to make here is that this series is not afraid to keep the focus on where it needs to be, and also it doesn't spell everything out for you. I remember at first getting a little annoyed that Marin is very aware she's in love with Gojo, but despite always just like sending every emotion that comes into her brain out of her mouth, she can't say this one. But as time goes by and you see the way the two interact and how they even interact with other people, I get this sense that Marin has never felt like this before. So she doesn't know how to articulate emotion she doesn't just usually feel, but we always then see how special the time between the two is from both of their perspective. All in all, My Dress Up Darling, I think, is a genuinely well-made, well-written show that, yes, isn't every bit a waifu fan service show. Yes. But it's also a genuinely loving, caring romance between two people who you genuinely want to see live happily ever after. But what did you think? In the comment section below, give me your thoughts on My Dress Up Darling. Is it as good as everyone says? Is it not that great? Does the fan service get a little much? I know, like, some of the aspects of the show can be a little too much for people. Give me all that in the comment section below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me next time as we find something else to talk about around